Let's begin in a comfortable seated position today. And we'll just breathe for a bit and breathe in any way that feels comforting and kind of cooling. The ujjayi breath, so the constricted throat breath where you're lengthening, smoothing, and kind of compressing the outflow of breath with the is generally a heat building practice in yoga and asana and pranayama. So if you want to play with breathing out through your mouth, you might try breathing out through your mouth just as a tool, cooling practice. Look at the relationship of some breathing and also some Ayurveda in terms of heating versus cooling qualities in the body, relationship to your environment. You can incorporate a few tools that will just aid in your overall comfort, right? So reducing the pitta quality in your constitution. So take a few minutes here just to breathe. Find your comfortable seat. Feel upright in your spine. Sense the coolness of breath on the inhalation, where your breath meets the rims of your nostrils. You feel it kind of in the columns of your nostrils on the in-breath, cooler. And a normal, very open, wide exhalation, either with your lips parted or with your mouth closed, either way. But an open airway and open throat will move through some asana tonight, but keep bringing attention to the exhalation. And if you kind of find yourself breathing a lot of ujjayi, it can in some sense just become a little bit automatic when we start to challenge ourselves in postures and asana, for you to start that deeper constricted throat breath. But notice as you're practicing to stay aware of all things as you move through your practice. So you can maybe try to just let go of the ujjayi today. Let's take another 5, 6 breath here. Cultivate qualities of ease, calm. So take maybe another breath or two, finish this breath, take one more. The eyes come softly open. And then just from your seat, take a breath in, lift your chest, little arch in your spine. Let your hands slide up toward your hips. And then exhale, bring your chin to your chest, round into your back, round into the back, upper back, and then back of your spine. Let your hands slide back out to your knees. Just cow pose, cat pose here from your seat. Let's do one more. Upright spine. Take a breath in. Right hand to the right, reach your left arm up, and side bend. Reach left arm all the way over to the right. So kind of pushing and resisting the floor through your right hand. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, side bend to the left. Wait for the breath. Nice and easy, seated, side bend. Once more to each side. Good, and then do a few twists where you reach both arms up, but then drop both hands to the right, left hand to right knee. Simple, simple. Wait for the breath. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale. Watch out for furniture. Rotate, inhale. And once more to each side, once more in each direction. Inhale, center, both arms up, exhale. Release both arms, release both hands. Okay, and then let's come from your seat. Briefly onto your back. And let's move a little, mobilize a little bit up in the shoulders, upper back, the upper register. Bring your hands together behind your head, interlace your fingers there. And then take a breath in and maybe just stay through a full round of your breath with your arms really pushed strongly into the floor. So feel that contract into your upper back behind your shoulder blades and tilt your chin back a little bit. So let this be a little back bend in your upper back. An enlarged, kind of more spacious rib cage. And the next time you exhale, elbows in, and then lift your head above the floor, upper back, and lift your head up from the ground. Inhale. Come back, but find again that little bit of arch. Squeeze the shoulder blades in, press the elbows down. Look back, tilt your chin up and back. Good. And then exhale. A little half sit up, a little bit of crunch right through the neck, front of your neck and your chest, and your sternum. 3 more times. Emphasis on the inhale, and the chest broadening, chest opening. Good. Come all the way back down. Take that last inhale, the flexion in the back, the lift of your chest. Good. And then let that go. Let the head go. Bring your arms out alongside you. And then bridge pose from here, okay? So let's use some support in your arms, some support in the shoulders as you come up, maybe come up with an exhalation. Take bridge pose for 5 breaths. And emphasize, kind of accentuate this opening and expansion around the solar plexus, the base of your rib cage, abdomen, belly, lower rib cage. Make some space there with your breath. You don't have to go kind of full bore 110% in your effort. In fact, you can be, just a little more passive in your hips and where you're standing in your feet and your shoulders. You don't have to burn super bright. Try to just cool everything down a bit in your practice. But let the belly just be really open. Kind of move some belly with your breath. Take 2 more breaths in bridge pose. Let the arms go, spine to the floor, hips to the floor. Extend both legs. Let the pose out of your legs and your hips completely, out of your knees, out of your feet, out of your legs, out of your shoulders, and take a breath. Good. So we'll come up with both legs, and your legs will form kind of a right angle, right? So your thighs perpendicular, your lower legs parallel with the floor, horizontal with the floor, but then kind of tilt your tailbone a little bit toward you, or in other words, flatten your lumbar spine to the floor and see if you can hold a little bit of that as you go to one side with your knees, feet almost all the way to the floor. Inhale, exhale, and come back onto a long lumbar spine. Inhale, second side, opposite side, exhale, come up. Just see if you can hold the legs at the angle, giving the abdomen a little bit of work. Big breath over. Twice more to each side. You might play with exhaling out through your mouth. Once more. Good. Let that go. Put both feet on the floor. Take a breath. Soft face, soft throat, soft breath there on the inhale and the exhale. Now let's bring the hands to the lower abdomen and then take your legs right back into that kind of right angle chair shape. And then pull the belly back in and lengthen through the lumbar spine. Keep as much of that as you can. Just keep coming back and adjusting where you need to, but then just touch one big toe to the floor, touch the other big toe to the floor. Keep drawing the belly back in. Keep trying to lengthen your lumbar spine. Touch the floor, back and forth, left foot, right foot. Good, 3 more. Each foot 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. And then both feet to the floor. Let all of that holding go between the rib cage and the hips. Take your arms over your head. Relax your jaw, relax your neck, relax throat. Thumbs together, hook your thumbs together, push out through your heels. Open the backs of your knees. Long full body stretch. Good. Let that go. Bring your feet to the floor. Bring yourself over onto one side and back up. That's my ear clip loose. Okay, all fours. Inhale and then exhale to downward facing dog. Take 4 more breaths in the pose. Take 4 more breaths. Practice, see if you can let go of dry breath, of restricted throat breath, and just exhale out through your mouth. One more breath here. Good. And then bring your knees to the floor. And then crawl your hands a little bit forward. If you are a comfortable upward facing dog practitioner, where you could bring your hips forward so your knees are back and cushion up your knees under, or so cushion blanket under your knees if you need a blanket. But start to contract in your glutes as your hips come forward. So you really come carefully into a little back bend, but then push more into your palms. When you get your palms more under you, you can. But just take it really carefully and intentionally from your glutes. And then let your chest come forward. Let your abdomen extend. Shoulder blades back. Your heart a little bit forward. Of course, if you know you just need to be on your elbows, then you're down on your elbows. Cobra, modified upward facing dog. Good. And then push back. Take knees wide, big toes together, hips to your heels. Soft breath, soft lower back. One more breath. Okay. And then come forward. You're going to bring forward the left foot. And again, we're going to stay down on the knee, we're going to modify lunge pose and do a rotation here. So if you want to, again, put a little bit of blanket under your knee, have some cushion under your knee. If you want to come up and do knee off the floor version, a little more dynamically, a little more heat building, so but that is an option for you. I'm going to keep my back knee on the floor. I'm going to reach up. And again, as I bring my hips forward to mitigate compression in the low spine, I want to keep some action in the back of the hips, in the glutes. Good. And so on the next breath out, let's rotate. So arms wide. You could put your right hand on the floor or on a block and then reach up through your left arm. Let this practice be more about kind of the mid-range of effort. Okay, so this should not feel like full bore, burning bright, 100% of your effort, hard push. Let it be somewhere in the middle range of effort, find the right effort. You want to curl the back toes under and lift the knee. Does that still feel like you're trying to do too much? Does that still feel like somewhere in the mid-range of your effort? Give it another breath. Lower your top arm and lower your back knee. And then heel toe back your left knee. Just sit back on your heels for a moment, toes under, toes back, your choice. Lunge pose, knee down lunge pose. Optional knee down lunge pose, hips forward again, right? And remember that first upward facing dog. So you're using the support of the glutes to control how much extension you put in the front of that hip and your abdomen. Good, so then find extension up through your arms. Again, if you want, again, optionally, you can have the back knee off the floor. Inhale, exhale, rotate the arms. Bring the left hand to the floor. Reach the right arm up into the air. Revolved lunge pose. Where do you want to be on the spectrum of effort? Knee down, right hand down. Shift your hips back, heel toe back, your right foot. Knees together, feet together, sit back on your heels or rest in child's pose. Or you can always just, if you're more comfortable, just up on your knees, you can stand on your knees. All fours, knees, hips distance apart. Curl your toes under, take a breath in, exhale out through your mouth, downward facing dog. Exhale, take one more breath in the pose. Walk your feet forward till your heels are about underneath your hips. From the soft knee forward fold. Next time you breathe in, roll yourself up to stand. Mountain pose. Okay, and then let's come take a wide stance and step your feet apart, have a block. If you like to have a block for either triangle pose or standing half moon pose for this standing balance, move to a wall. Of course, have a chair if you prefer to use a chair to support your balance, or a wall to support your balance. But start in triangle pose. So pitta qualities and characteristics in the body generally tend to theoretically are centered around the abdomen, centered around like the kidneys and the spleen and the liver, the intestines. So poses that help to kind of open this up and release some of that heat. If you noticed in downward facing dog that like your abdomen felt really warm and kind of hot, like mine did, you want to do some poses that help move this part of your body around in your spine. So side bending and back bending and rotation, right? So triangle pose can help kind of meet a lot of those objectives. Let's take triangle pose first with your left foot out and your right foot back. If you've been enjoying practicing with a slightly wider stance, you find the slightly wider stance, slightly longer legs, feeling of slightly longer legs. And then you have a rotation here. Slightly more cooling to look down at the floor. Let your breath out through your mouth. If you find yourself just kind of habitually moving into Ujjayi breath, constricted throat breath, restricted throat breath, unrestrict your throat. Let's take 3 more breaths in the pose. And then if now is when you want to move for support to stand in the balance, we'll go into standing half moon pose for your standing balance. Block your left hand, let your weight shift forward and then come on. Fill your belly with your breath. Let your breath out through your mouth, through a soft throat. Three more breaths. Good. Let's just drop that right foot next to your left foot. So you could end in forward fold, Uttanasana. Long spine, the weight of your arms hanging, the weight of your head hanging. Take just one more breath. Good, and then bring yourself back up to Tadasana Mountain Pose. Okay, second side. Find wide stance again. Right foot out, left heel back. There's a side bend in the reverse if you want to take the reverse, and then triangle pose. Feel your feet firmly planted. That slight rotation in the rib cage. The rib cage rotating away from whatever angle your hips take to support your legs in the pose. Three more breaths here. Okay, make your way to the pose. Okay, make your way to the pose with very little effort. Move away from my plant. Four more breaths, soften your throat, soften your throat. Slowly lower left foot. And then again, Uttanasana. One more breath in the fold. Good. And then back up to stand. Okay. And then we'll take the revolved triangle pose. And let's just do half a dozen, 5, 6 breath revolved triangle pose, each side, 5 or 6 breath. Your left foot is forward, your right foot is a short step back. Know how much room you need to give yourself lots of space to rotate once you're down. And you could just start with your block in your right hand. So you come to about a half forward fold. The block drops straight down underneath your right shoulder. And then find some rotation. And you can play with kind of where you like to initiate your rotation. You can initiate it from having your hips really roll right over into the twist with you. You can try initiating the twist a little more directly from around the belly, around the navel. Just a couple more breaths on this side. Leave your top hand on your back or on your hip and just rotate. Let go of the twist, come off of your block, and take just 2 or 3 breaths in pyramid pose in the fold. Okay, and then step forward, right foot, bring your hands to your hips, lift through your upper back, come all the way back up, mountain pose, and then just take a breath here. It's hard to stop doing Ujjayi breath. You might be noticing it's hard to break that and get in a really, really strong habit over years and years and years of building that internal heat by using the breath and constricting the breath that way. It's hard to let go of that. See how well you can just stay with that sustained attention to breath and maybe an attention to an open throat on the exhalation. A revolved triangle pose, take your left arm up into the air, reach. Revolved triangle pose to the right. Five full breaths in the pose. Big breath in, exhale, soft exhale, come out, come to pyramid pose and take 3 more breaths. Good, okay. And then let's come forward from the fold, roll back up or lift through the upper back to come up. And then let's come to camel pose, right? So you can use a chair seat for camel pose if you like. And then a blanket under your knees if you're using a blanket under your knees to support the joints, a little softer under the joints. And if you're not using a chair, you can also use a couple of blocks to reach back and put hands to blocks, or you can just have your hands on your back, okay? If you want to stay upright, more upright, hands to your back, and then you're just more practicing this back bend in the upper back. So heart open, heart lifted, even this lower part of your rib cage. Imagine kind of that opening up, flowering a little bit, but strongly supported by some contraction in your glutes. Let that help support just neutral low spine. Let that help support your hips forward so that you feel the lengthening from your hips up through abdomen and chest, but not like compression back bending in your lumbar spine, okay? So hands could just stay here, right? Variation 1, no props. Big pull back through the front of the shoulder, or you could use the seat of your chair. Put my palms on the chair. And then let my hips move up into the pose from my glutes, from my hamstrings, and my glutes. And then a longer rib cage spine. Up, 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 up. Soft exhale, soft throat. One more breath. If you're still in it, one more breath. Big belly breath there, right? Let there be some contour to your belly as you're breathing in. And then you could just sit back. If you're using a chair, you could just sit on the chair, or you could sit back on your feet. But just be aware, you can either turn a little bit from side to side. So just be kind of loosening through the hips and the lower back. You can sit on your chair seat and do that, or you can sit on your feet and take a little bit of a twist to each side. Okay, and we'll do one more camel pose, Ustrasana. Chair, blocks, no props. Five breaths. Might try really lifting the chest and breathing high. Breathe into the upper register. Navel to spine, firm glutes on the exhale. Couple more breaths. Good, and then let the arms go. Shake out the elbows, shake out the arms and the shoulders, and set your chair aside if you're using a chair. Come down to your belly. Toes back, arms down alongside you. Point the toes, firm the legs, firm the glutes. And then with the breath in, lift your arms, chest, head. Soft exhalation. Let this be about medium effort again, right? Medium effort, less effort, more passive. Holding, find this the base shape of the pose. One more breath. Good. One cheek to the floor, arms down alongside you. Good, and then arms forward. Can you get your elbows under your shoulders? Sphinx. Sphinx or a kind of cobra, kind of low cobra again, kind of medium cobra. And then we can curl toes under if you want. You could have toes back if you like. And then pull the elbows toward your rib cage. Breathe softly. Find again where you can just be in the shape of the pose without expending all of your effort in the pose. But feel this nice pull and stretch from the lower part of your abdomen up into the base of your rib cage, and from the rib cage up. Pull a little more space across the heart, across the chest. Good. And then let that go. One cheek to the floor, arms alongside you, bend both knees. Drop both knees to the right, drop both knees to the left. Sorry, feet to the right, feet to the left. Good. Let that go. Bring both palms next to you. Give yourself a little push away from the floor and come to a sit. Any shape for your legs just in a seated twist, right? So if you want to bring right heel to the back of left hip and then cross over left foot stands on the floor. You can do it that way. You can have the right leg long and step the left foot over. You can keep the left foot over here. Any variation, any position of your legs. What's easiest for you? Let yourself do the easiest thing. Let yourself have some ease. We're going to go around to the left. So you take your right arm up into the air, take a breath in, exhale, rotate elbow to knee. Let it be soft. Give yourself room to breathe. Two more breaths. Yeah. And switch that and take 5 breaths opposite cross. any shape of your legs, any shape of your legs that gives you comfortable leverage. Rotate back through your right shoulder. One more breath. Good. And let that go. Come back down onto your back. Let the ground have your back. Let's just continue. Let's continue twisting. Just continue some easy rotation. Take right leg all the way over left leg. Take right arm over right arm. Put yourself in an eagle pose here on your back and just let your hands rest on your forehead. And then let both knees fall to the right. Take a full breath, just letting yourself be held in the shape of the pose. Back onto your left foot. Let knees drop again to the right. Back onto your left foot. 2 or 3 more times. Just take some time with your breath. You might inhale, drop the knees over. And then as you exhale, a little looser, a little more weighted toward the floor in your shoulders. One more. Good. And then come up and release the arms and release the cross of your legs. And then just find balanced weight, your 2 feet, 2 sides of your lower back. Take left leg, cross over right leg. Cross deeply one thigh, left thigh over the right thigh. Left elbow over right elbow. Forearm bind, left fingertips to right palm. Rest the hands on your head. Take a breath in. Let your knees fall to the left. Exhale here. Back up onto your right foot. So notice if you get a little more clearance one way or the other. Or you're a little more just in the bind, a little more tightly in the bind in one direction. A little more open in the bind in one direction. Go with it 3 more times. Inhale, drop knees, exhale, hold. Once more. Let the arms come undone. Let the legs come undone. Bring yourself back onto your back. Bring your knees into your chest. Okay, and then let's have a couple of options, just depending on what kind of props you might have. If you have a block, we're going to take a few minutes and we're going to be in the pose for a few minutes like we were doing restorative, like we were going to do a restorative pose, right? So if you have a block, you can support bridge pose with your hips up on a block. You can be low and flat, you can be maybe up one level, so the long skinny side of that runs vertically along the sacrum. So you could be here. And again, you're looking for just this openness again, chest, rib cage, lower rib cage, solar plexus, abdomen, lots of space, lots of cooling off room for you there. If you have something like, well, I'll show two blocks. If you have two, you can stack one tall and put the other one on the long edge right in front of it. You could do that little block supported back bend. So the low block comes between your shoulder blades, the high block supports your head. And you can be here on your two blocks. And then if you have a bolster, you could lie back with spine long over your bolster, and maybe you have a blanket for your head or you have a block for your head under the bolster or on top of the bolster. I suspect we probably have a lot of, we either have a block or we have a couple of blocks, so maybe one or the other of these variations. And if you happen to be using a bolster to support your spine, if you're in that setup and you just want to stay there for Shavasana, you could just stay in that setup. But if you're using blocks, let's just take a few minutes, let the blocks do the pose, let the block do the pose. Just feel the shape of your breath. Again, exhale very soft out through your mouth if you're comfortable with that. So let's take another 3, 4, 5 breaths if you are using one block or two blocks. So let's come off of the blocks. If you're using a block behind your hips, if you're using the two block set up, bring yourself to one side so you could let those come out from behind you. And then we'll rest last 5 minutes up to the hour. 4 minutes, and then we'll sit for 5. If you can stay and sit for 5, please do. any support, any comfortable shavasana. And check in with any tension around the neck or the throat. Position your head so that your airway feels very clear and open. Relax the tongue. Just breathe cool breaths in and out through your nose, or in through your nose, out through your mouth. Sense your body in this restful state. So can you stay just very clear, present in your attention? Two or three more breaths. 2, 3 more breaths in Shavasana. Good. So feel free to meditate in Shavasana if you just are comfortable on your back. And you can stay present, alert, but restful on your back. Feel free to stay on your back. So meditate. Stay if you can, and then if you want to come up and sit, then come up and sit. And sit for 4 or 5 minutes. Just keep that same, just lovely, calm, inward directed, cool attention to breath, but effortless, no effort. Notice any effort here. Notice any rigidity. Notice any intentional aiming of your attention at something. Just draw it back. If you can, just draw it back. Good. Take one more minute here, maybe 4 or 5 more breaths. Wide open with your attention, with your awareness. Just take it all in. So we'll close our practice here. You guys, thank you very much for being here, for continuing to be here, sharing your practice, sharing your breath. Honor the continued opportunity to have practice space and time together. We find a few minutes here and there in the days ahead to just pause, take 5 minutes and breathe. Do pigeon pose in your chair. Give yourself what you need in the days ahead. And especially, stay cool. Try and find some cool if you have to be in the heat. We're going to bring some
Thanks, Shani.
cooling quality to your time and space. You're welcome.
You have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome, Mike Sears. See you next week.
Okay.